process. You should pray for us. We are doing, all the possibility we can, but it's very difficult. Now, someone asked how South Africa is doing it. And that is why we are here in South Africa, to learn how their quota system, they are doing it. But it is in Zimbabwe, what we have thought is that they should rope this in political parties' constitution. And it becomes a requirement to ZEC. So that is ZEC will say when the parties bring their list for elections, there are some certain requirements or percentage requirements that is required before the list is taken by ZEC. So I think it should be constitutionally taken to the political parties, and the requirements are a necessity that goes into the constitution, so that ZEC set that as a requirement. I might take all the questions, but let me leave for my fellow colleague to answer to some.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Thank you, Program Directors, and thank you, Honorable Members, for your insight and your questions. The first question that was targeted to us was around the issue of the quota system and it being a problem in some countries and working in South Africa. I think it is important to note the fact that in South Africa, it's not really a legislated a piece of legislation. I think we need to clarify that. I had raised it when I was making my input that at some point we don't sit and pray that in our parliament as well as our provincial legislators we get 50% representation of women or more, since it's not legislated. But it depends on the practices and the policies and the guidelines of the individual political parties. Let me make an example. As you are having, and we are coming from different political formations, I think it would rest upon us as members of those political parties to ensure that we are fighting for the quota system within the political parties that we are coming from. And to date in South Africa, the African National Congress is one of the political parties that have introduced a quota system that will ensure the representation of women in decision-making bodies. And this system has been introduced in their political parties. But we are hoping that eventually we'll be having a cut-across quota system in the different political parties, so that we are ensuring that within the guidelines of the different political parties, we do get the representation of women in parliament being above 50%. So it depends on the guidelines that the political parties are using to ensure that women are represented in the list in numbers. The second question was around the growth of women in parliament. Does it translate to the development of ordinary women on the ground? In fact, it was how does it translate to the development of the livelihoods of women on the ground? My take on that is that, and I think it has been reflecting in all the speeches and the submissions that we have had today, that even through research, we have known that the participation of women in decision-making bodies does in fact translate to the improvement of the lives of women on the ground and ordinary women for that matter. And evidence has shown that if we are having more women in public decision-making, you get better policies that benefit women and children and families in general, because you are having women as households and families, and if you are having women at the decision-making table, they will ensure that the policies and the legislation that is passed will benefit on the ground and also protect the rights of women and children in numbers. So therefore, for me, the more we have women as chairpersons of portfolio committees, the more we have women as in the executives, we will ensure as women with our nurturing side of us that ordinary women on the ground do get the benefit through policies that we're able to pass that would benefit them. The next was around the issue of teenage pregnancy. And yes, it has been reported that it is a problem in South Africa in general, and even the province of KwaZulu-Natal specifically. For us, it is important as parliamentarians especially to ensure that we are able to understand, engage better on enhancing on what we call the comprehensive sexual education. I must say though that it has been facing a lot of backlash from our communities because some of them really feel that you cannot teach our girl children and our boy children on, the explicities of sex or sexuality and gender and relationships at a young age. But we must say that in South Africa, our curriculum as early as, for almost 20 years, has incorporated
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
relationships. So that is what is incorporated in the life orientation program in our schools. It is also able to give a better understanding on the concepts, the content, the values, and the attitudes around sexuality, sexual behavior, as well as having a safe and healthy environment for our girl children. And that, for me, is able to contribute to ensuring that the girl child is aware of the dangers of engaging in early sexual activities. So all in all, it's important for us as parliamentarians to understand and engage on such. And also we need to ensure that we're able to adapt, successful strategies for promoting and protecting the comprehensive sexual education program in our country, though, as I have said, that it has been able to get to receive a backlash. Lastly, it's around the issue of the NSP and how are we able to measure its successes. I think it's important to firstly note that the success of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence will depend not only by the implementation of our government and the various government departments. As you know, that every government department has a role and responsibility to play in the 6 pillars, but it's a partnership between, in fact, it's a collective effort between government, between the private sector, because if there's one a party that goes that is not coming forth to play a responsibility or is responsible also to implement programs, it's the private sector, civil society organization, our community. So the implementation of the NSP is not really resting on government alone, but the different parties and stakeholders to ensure its success. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Maybe before you take over, I feel there is a question which I didn't answer. Just in short, we have a ministry which is the Ministry of Women Affairs for Women, small and medium enterprises for small businesses that are just starting, and community development. We have got a fund which goes to the marginalized in the communities, in the rural areas, whereby this ministry insists with seeing that all women who have got the capability of forming businesses, they come together and make business. Our government has also come up with a women's bank, which falls under this ministry. It's a women's bank. No collateral security, but of course, you pay with interest. So it's very useful in Zimbabwe, this women's bank. So that is how we are empowering the young women in Zimbabwe. And also on the rep-ish, through our embassy here in South Africa, I think we have started collecting names of those without permit so that they can return home. You know, there's a situation from 2008, Zimbabwe was struck with hunger, and everyone was coming to South Africa, and other women would use, areas which are not even allowed, to use to come to South Africa, and they would get raped. You are right. It was very difficult, but what can you do? That is why a woman is called a woman and was said to carry a child for 9 months so that he would feel for each other. We really felt for those women, but there was nothing we could do because the women were struggling to serve their children back home. But now we have started a process of so that they can return home. Then the media visibility. I am one of those persons who use media visibility. I form groups in my constituents where I talk with my constituents like I'm meeting them every day. So use them. It's very powerful. So the media is powerful. Don't run away from it. Thank you.
Thanks much. Round of applause. Thanks so much. Sorry, it seems like we're shortening it. I did say I will be good with time, and I want to keep my promises. So we're gonna go have lunch right now and then come back and finish off our 2 sessions. What's important to note is that lunch is on the building across us. So what we do is we go to the ground floor, then you walk out to the Premier Hotel, and you go to the 2nd floor for lunch. Hope everyone has gotten that. There will be some people who will assist you from the DDP. So it's ground floor from here, walk across to the Premier Hotel, and then it's 2nd floor. And we will see each other and reconvene after lunch, which is going to be for an hour. So we will see everybody back here at 2:30. Yeah. Thank you so much. Can we give them a round of applause?
Recording stop.